But at the end of the day, it will affect the wider society.
Maintaining national security and stability, the NSA maintains, should not be left to the security agents alone, but the whole of society and indeed the whole of nation must partake in the onerous enterprise. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
The federal government says it will not condone media organizations who take delight in broadcasting interviews with bandits and terrorists, thereby making them look as heroes. Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed stated this while briefing newsmen in Abuja. Anthony Forson reports.
The BBC on its program African Eye had aired a documentary titled The Bandits Warlords of Zamfara, where terrorists and bandits were seen boasting of their exploits, claiming victory and successes they have recorded. While the BBC edition is yet to settle, another interview on Trust TV emerged. Thus, the Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed says is unacceptable.
There's a regulatory body, that is the NBC, and the NBC, they are also aware of these two incidents. They are looking at which part of the broadcasting code which parts have been violated by both the BBC and the Daily Trust, and I can assure you that there will be consequences.
Responding to a question that BBC is not registered in Nigeria and therefore not under the regulation of the NBC, Lai Mohammed responded this way.
Let me assure you that I will not get away with this naked glorification of terrorism and banditry in Nigeria. If they're not registered in Nigeria and they only send their signals into Nigeria, we ask them to stop sending the signals, pure and simple. Because I know that during the IRA days, the BBC would not dare do what they are doing now in Nigeria. I said it many times here, that the media is the oxygen that terrorists and bandits need to breathe. When otherwise reputable platforms like BBC now give their platforms to terrorists, showing their faces as if they are Hollywood stars, what does that mean? I want to assure them they won't get away with it. The proper sanction will be meted on both the BBC and the Daily Trust.
In Abuja, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
Journalists have been advised to work in tandem with the ethics of the profession as a watchdog of the society by pushing advocacy reportage for peace, unity, justice, equity and fair play, especially as the 2023 electioneering process continues. The National Publicity Secretary of the Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria, who is also the patron of NUJ Zone F, Bishop Ima Isom, gave the advice when he received the executive of the Nigerian Union of Journalists Cross River State Chapter in Calabar. Archibald Bassi reports.
Next year, Nigerians will be in the game of fiscal politics, where political party candidates will be voted into various offices to allow for the transition of power. The Nigerian Union of Journalists, as the watchdog of a society, is now interested in getting information that will promote unity and peace in the nation for needed socio-economic and political development of the country. This is why the newly elected leaders of the State Council of NUJ want stakeholders to be committed to nation building.
The media, the journalists, are very strategic, not only dissemination of activities and programs, they are very strategic, like I said, in projecting, marketing, and presenting brands. I know that you are underpaid.
We believe that the value system in our practice has to change. We believe that professionalism, objectivity, must be on the front line in our practice.
Bishop Emaisom also condemned the spate of insecurity in the country and the kidnapping of religious leaders and urges political leaders to stem the tide. In Calabar, Achibombasi, NTA News.
The Joint Task Force Operation Delta Safe has debunked claims of invasion and killings in a Igbomotoru community in Bayelsa State. The commander, Rear Admiral Aminu Hassan, said officers and men in the course of its mandate to stamp out all thefts and illegal bunkering activities conducted themselves professionally, just as they recovered arms and other exhibits in an illegal refining camp in the area. Ebinimizi Timiola reports.
The illegal crude oil refining camp in Igbomotoru community in southern Ijaw local government area of Bayelsa State is one of other camps discovered by the Joint Task Force. About 1.5 kilometers away from the community, the troops during its operations recovered a 200 horsepower speedboat, a pistol, military camouflage, among others.
About 4 times or so, the pipeline has been tampered with. And in our own arrangements to secure that pipeline, we have deployed to that area to hold the ground, to make sure that we put a full stop to the activities of the crude oil thieves and other illegalities within the area. Now, the criminals are not happy with that, and they go about doing whatever they are doing, perhaps trying to smear the character of the JTF and whoever is operating to stop them there.
On the attachment to a surveillance contractor, the Joint Task Force commander reacted thus.
Clearly, nobody, no surveillance contractor, no surveillance outfits will ever use us against any member of the community or against the people. No. We are here to protect the people. And anywhere we see injustice, we will say it.
He reiterated the commitment of the JTF to the protection of lives and critical national assets. Ebinimi Zitemiola, NTA News.
The need for the health sector to advance toward decentralized care, constant training of health workers, and scaling up sensitization and delivery of hepatitis B and C services in line with the universal health coverage has been emphasized. This, stakeholders say, is key to addressing this health threat, widely described as a silent killer. Ijoma Ugweke reports.
Hepatitis, which is characterized by the inflammation of the liver, is widely responsible for the deaths of about 125,000 people in developing countries of the world. This figure may be partly the fact that symptoms are often not detected until it is too late for treatment. Lots of sufferers sometimes end up with liver cancer. According to experts, transmission of hepatitis B from mother to child remains high, with prevalence of 2.5% among children. This is why the vaccine was included in the National Immunization Program for children less than 5 years.
It's preventable for the hepatitis B with vaccines that are easily available and accessible, but for the hepatitis C, there is no vaccine. So either which way we preach, get tested. If you're negative for B, get vaccinated. If you're positive for either of them, get treated. The drugs used in treating can either be the oral tablets or injection. Are they easily accessible? Yes. You mentioned about affordability, a bit expensive. So the common man may find it a bit difficult to buy, but they are available in the country.
Risk factors include exposure to sharing of sharp objects such as needles, syringe, razor blade, unprotected sexual intercourse, and improperly screened blood. As the world marks Hepatitis Day, focusing on viral causes and bringing hepatitis care closer to the people, voluntary organizations are keyed into the program to raise awareness. Highlight is on the need for primary health facilities and communities to ensure better access to treatment and care.
We came around, they asked us to check our hepatitis to know whether we are affected or not. So I'm happy I've done I know I'm free today.
You feel something in your body and it is headache, it is malaria, which people commonly do. And then they allow those conditions to degenerate into sometimes fatality. So the message is, when you feel sick or you have this kind of condition we're talking about, come to the health center. There are specialists here to diagnose you and know exactly what is wrong with you, and then know the course of treatment.
Hepatitis
of the University of Port Harcourt Teaching Hospital. Madam, you're welcome to our studios.
Thank you.
Now, what is hepatitis and the predisposing factors?
Okay, before I talk about what hepatitis is, I would like us to talk about what the functions of the liver is, and then because hepatitis is actually the inflammation of the liver. So the liver has three major functions. The liver is the organ that processes nutrients, filters blood, and fights infection. And once these three functions are impaired as a result of liver damage or inflammations, the liver won't be able to carry out its function properly. And hepatitis is one of the infections that causes the impairment of the liver. There are so many there are viruses that actually causes this hepatitis. They include the hepatitis A virus, hepatitis B virus, hepatitis C, D, and E virus. And then we also have some other ones that are non-viral causes of the hepatitis, which can cause the liver to become inflamed. And such non-viral ones include the excessive use of alcohol, for example, when your immune system recognizes your liver as a strange body or as a foreign body, it attacks the liver and then causing an inflammation. So this is another factor too that can cause the liver to become inflamed and then impair its function. However, there are risk factors that can predispose people to this hepatitis. For example, the use of contaminated objects like needles, syringes, which maybe is common among the healthcare workers. And then two, in people, or let's say the youths who do drugs, they equally share maybe the syringes and needles while doing the drugs. We also have those who use unsafe water, either as drinking water or use them to wash their foods before they eat. These factors actually predispose them to having hepatitis.
Okay, I know we have so many factors. Now, the question that readily comes to mind is if this disease is curable.
Hepatitis is not curable, but however, there are preventive measures that can be taken, and then the person will be safe and then won't be able to have this virus or this hepatitis.
Okay, so the treatments, is it affordable for the common man on the streets?
Of course, it is not. The vaccines are free in health facilities, but for a child, a newborn who got infected through the mother, that child will actually need to take a vaccine, the hepatitis B vaccine, and then the hepatitis B immunoglobulin vaccine. And that vaccine is so expensive that the middle-aged Nigerian man cannot afford it because it costs about 70 to 80,000 naira.
Okay, so if someone who a child has this, what will be your advice to that kind of parent who can not even afford a meal? Talk more of.
Okay, what's the advice is that if you are tested, that is actually compulsory for every pregnant woman to test for hepatitis when she's pregnant. And if you are positive, I think you should start planning towards the vaccine for your child.
Okay, before I let you go, tell us finally, how do we stem the tide? Finally, 1 minute.
Okay, we can do that by testing, which is very important, and then after testing you go for your vaccination. Apart from the vaccines, we actually have to practice safe sex. Use of contaminated water is actually prohibited. Then also want to encourage people to practice of people contact this hepatitis.
Thomas Mercy, thank you so much for doing justice to this problem. Okay, up next is sports.
Team Nigeria at the Commonwealth Games turned out in glamour, pomp and pageantry during the opening ceremony of the Games in Birmingham on Thursday, led by the flag bearers Nnamdi Prosper and Oluwafemi Ayo Folashade, as well as Mike Edwards. The athletes looked radiant and ready for the task ahead of them in a simple but befitting white and green attire. Nigeria will start off our guest for medals on Friday with the men's and women's tennis team in action. Ahead of the 2022 African Nations Under-21 Men's Volleyball Championship scheduled for 12th to 23rd August in Tunisia, sport enthusiasts tasked Nigerian Volleyball Federation on a good outing as they invite 17 players to camp in Kaduna in preparation for the tournament. The invited players were picked from the previous national Under-19 boys who won the African title.
Put into consideration the effort that has been put in place by the Volleyball Federation in the last 4 or 5 years, I think there has been tremendous progress when it comes to volleyball, especially at age grade level, and I'm looking forward to a positive outing from the team.
Similarly, the Handball Federation of Nigeria is set to host the 2022 National Under-12 and 15 Handball Championship in Sokoto State. The championship, which is a grassroots developmental competition, will give winners in the male and female categories an opportunity to represent Nigeria in underage international championships.
That's the way to go, and I must commend the Sokoto State government, especially as regards handball. They've been very, every year we have this kind of grassroots development program.
The championship is billed to begin from August 26, 2022. With sport updates, I am Peter Oibo, NTA News.
Panorama from Port Harcourt Network Center. Always remember to join hands with NTA in the fight against rape and rabies. Good afternoon.